The tow truck came at 3:12 a.m. No lights, no warning. Elena watched from behind her curtain as they lifted the white BMW from the Whitmans' driveway. By morning, it was back, parked perfectly, polished, like nothing had happened. And that's when she realized something about the Whitmans' life wasn't real. The BMW had always meant something: proof, status, success parked in plain sight. Every Friday, a mobile detailing van arrived. 2 men in uniforms, foam cannons, white towels folded neatly over their shoulders. It wasn't just a wash, it was a performance, and Elena had been watching it for years. She told herself she wasn't comparing, but she was. Welcome to Fearless Stories, where money meets humanity. Elena didn't earn her house, she inherited it. Her grandparents bought it before the gates, before the security guards, before the neighborhood became something people worked their entire lives to afford. To Elena, it was just home. To everyone else, it was status. She worked as a public school administrator, drove a modest car, budgeted groceries down to the dollar, lived carefully, quietly. Across the street lived the Whitmans. Private school uniforms pressed crisp each morning, new shoes every semester, holiday cards printed on thick paper stock, and every summer they left. Photos appeared online like proof of arrival: boats, ocean views, champagne glasses tilted toward sunsets. Elena would pause on those photos longer than she wanted to admit. Not jealousy, belief that this was what winning looked like. Then the car wash stopped coming. Weeks passed. One Sunday morning, Mr. Whitman stood outside alone, bucket in hand, washing the BMW himself. He moved slower than the professionals, careful, almost nervous. Halfway through, he stopped, just stood there, staring at the car, like he wasn't sure what to do next. Elena felt something shift. The vacation stopped next. Summer came and went. No airport rides, no filtered sunsets. The private school uniforms disappeared, replaced by public school backpacks with district logos stitched on the front. The house grew quieter, darker at night. One afternoon, a letter landed in Elena's mailbox by mistake. Whitman. She walked it across the street and knocked. Mrs. Whitman answered, still beautiful, still composed, but her eyes looked tired. Elena handed her the envelope. Mrs. Whitman glanced down at it and her hand tightened, just slightly. She smiled, too quickly, closed the door, and Elena felt it again. Not envy, truth, getting closer. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. So she did something she'd never done before. She searched their address on the county records page. The screen loaded slowly. 3 seconds. It felt like 30. Then, lien notice. Missed payments, delinquent balance. Her stomach dropped. They weren't ahead. They were behind. Months behind. Elena closed her laptop, told herself it wasn't her business. But the image of that BMW wouldn't leave her mind. Days later, the notice appeared, taped to their front door. Foreclosure. Mrs. Whitman ripped it down quickly, looked around, making sure no one saw. But Elena did. And for the first time, the BMW, the vacations, the perfect life, felt like props, not proof. 3 days after the foreclosure notice, the BMW disappeared again. This time, it didn't come back. Soon after, a moving truck arrived, smaller than Elena expected. That's when she understood. They hadn't been downsizing, they'd been unraveling. That evening, Mrs. Whitman knocked on Elena's door. No makeup, no designer clothes, no performance, just exhaustion. She apologized for the noise, for the inconvenience, for everything. They stood there in silence. Then Mrs. Whitman said quietly, "We never owned any of it. The car was leased. The vacations went on credit cards, private school tuition financed, even the furniture, monthly payments. They kept thinking their income would eventually match the life they were projecting. It never did. They weren't buying luxury. They were renting identity. The worst part, she said, wasn't losing it." She looked back at the house. It was realizing none of it was ever ours. Then she looked at Elena, at her modest, paid-off home, her steady, quiet life. "You're the lucky one." After they left, Elena stood in her driveway. The same driveway she once thought was small. She thought about the BMW, the vacations, the illusion she believed, and realized She had never been behind. She had never been losing. She had been living within truth, within peace, within freedom. Some people inherit debt disguised as success. Others inherit freedom disguised as ordinary. And sometimes the richest life is the one that doesn't need to be seen. If this story made you question what success really looks like, subscribe, because the next one might hit even closer to home. Because fear is not your legacy. Freedom is. Before you go, let me ask you something real. Have you ever compared your life to someone else's, only to discover later it wasn't what it seemed? Drop it in the comments. You never know who might read it and realize they're not alone. Subscribe to Fearless Finance, and I'll see you in the next episode.